Welcome back to Sew, Grow and Cook. Let's make some marmalade. Let's have a quick look at the ingredients we'll need. So I'm going to make 1 kilogram's worth of Seville oranges. You can use other sorts of oranges, but the recipe I've got calls for Seville oranges. And I've got 1 kilogram, which is roughly 2.2 pounds. And I have got 2 kilograms of sugar. Okay, so double the sugar to the fruit. Now I know that sounds like quite a lot of sugar, and it is, but you're only going to be using small amounts of marmalade on your toast, and the batch you make should last you quite some time. The other thing is, with sugar in recipes like this, it's not just used for flavoring. It's used to help preserve the marmalade as well as help with the setting agents. Okay, you need to have the sugar in there, and these are quite bittersweet, and the sugar helps offset that. So if you wanted to experiment and try regular or different kinds of oranges other than Seville oranges, feel free to experiment. But this recipe, I'm using traditional Seville oranges to make traditional Seville orange marmalade. I've washed my Seville oranges under the tap just to get rid of any dust or any dirt that's on the peel, and I've got 1 kilogram of the oranges, and what I'm going to do now is cut them in half and juice them. So now we've got to juice the oranges. Now scoop out all the middle, the inside of the peels, because that's got a lot of pectin in it, and you're going to need to boil that up in a square of muslin or cheesecloth. There you go. Set that aside, you're going to need that shortly. So we've got our juice, and we've got the seeds and the inner membrane of the orange that we scraped out of each half. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stack a few of these and slice them up really fine. Now, if your knife skills are not brilliant, you can always chop these into smaller pieces and put them in your food processor and just chop them up. You'll also need a square of muslin or cheesecloth, or a cloth, clean cloth, pillowcase or something, because you're going to have to put all your orange seeds and the inner bits into it to boil with your juice, to extract the pectin, which will help set the marmalade. So now you want to take your bits from the inside of the orange peels and put them in the middle of your cloth square. Take the corners up, and you can either tie it, hello Paddy, it's my cat talking to me again, and tie it with a string, or you can just tie the corners, And you're going to put this in the big saucepan with the juice and the water, which is our next step. Now you're ready to put everything into the saucepan. I'm using the bottom half of a pressure cooker, a 6 litre pressure cooker, because my other saucepans are being used for something else. So I'm going to add the juice, and I'm going to add 2.4 litres of water. That's roughly 4 pints. Put all your chopped up orange peel into the juice and the water. Make sure you get it all in there. And when you've put that all in, you're going to add your little bag of seeds and all that gunk that you scooped out of the halves of the oranges, because that's going to provide you with the pectin that's going to help your marmalade set. Now I'm just making sure that I've immersed this into the liquid and tied a knot in the little cloth bag, and I'm just going to hold it in place. I think you can either use a wooden spoon, I'm going to use a chopstick, and just put it across the top of the pan. And then I'm going to let this simmer for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So now this is boiled for about an hour and a half, and I've let it cool for another hour or so until this bag full of gunk is cooled off. Because really what you want to do now is take a bowl and squeeze all of that pectin out of the bag, because you're going to add it back into the mix, and that's going to help your marmalade set. Give it a good squeeze. Don't waste any of the bits. And there you go. You can add that back in. Now you're going to add your sugar. Easy does it. Put it a little bit in at a time and make sure the heat is on. Stir it in, let it dissolve before you start bringing your marmalade mixture up to a boil. Keep stirring it. Then bring it up to a boil when it's all dissolved, and then let it simmer for anything up to an hour and a half. But what you're going to do is check for its ability to set and make a nice gelled marmalade by putting a plate in your freezer or your fridge, and then adding some of the marmalade mixture onto the cold plate. Push that liquid with your finger, and if it wrinkles, then it's probably ready to bottle up. But if it's not, check every 15 minutes, because 15 minutes will give it extra time to cook and not overcook. So keep checking every 15 minutes. I've made marmalade a lot of times, and it usually takes somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half to be ready. I once made some marmalade that took over 2 hours to set. Now here's a little tip which you can ignore or you can take on board if you like. If you use sugar with added pectin, so jam making sugar, you might be able to cut down some of that time, because the pectin in the sugar will help it gel more quickly. See how the marmalade is beginning to wrinkle on that cold plate. Now the marmalade's ready to bottle up. I've got a clean funnel and a ladle, and I've washed out my jars, and I'm just going to spoon it in very carefully. Do be really careful at this stage, because the marmalade is extremely hot, and if you splash some on you, it will really hurt. So now I've got 7 jars of marmalade that I'm going to water bath can. So I'm using my super duper big stock pot here because all my smaller stock pots are being used for something else. And I put some old flannel towels at the bottom to protect the jars. And once I put the jars in the stock pot, I'm going to cover them with water. Always make sure your water is a similar temperature to the temperature of the jars. Don't put cold water on hot jars or vice versa, because you don't want to crack your jars. Now that the jars are immersed in the stock pot underwater, I'm going to boil them for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll remove them and put them on the counter on top of a tea towel, and hopefully they'll seal after that. Right, so it's the next morning and Bob and I are coming in for our second breakfast. That's something we have after we've done all our animal chores. So we have some hot oatmeal or porridge for the morning, and then we go out, we feed the chickens, the sheep, milk the goats, etc., etc., and then we treat ourselves to part 2 of our breakfast. Last night's or yesterday's marmalade recipe made 7 jars, and we're going to try one of them this morning. This is a very common breakfast for us. Should try the small jar here. There we go. Good seal on that. Smells really good.
Nice colour.
Yeah, it's quite dark. The last batch I made was much lighter, and this one's come out darker. Right, you're going to butter your toast, Bob?
Done it.
Oh, well then go ahead and have some.
I was being polite and waiting for you.
Right. Really nice, dark, sort of, what would you call that? Amber?
Probably.
Amber orange, burnt orange. Well, it's not burnt. It's not at all burnt, but it looks very nice and it smells very good. So, oh,
Good.
sweet, but slightly bittersweet. Bittersweet.
The tangy is a good word.
Tangy, yeah, tangy's a good word, but Seville oranges have got that kind of slightly not super sweet flavour anyway, so they impart a different kind of more grown-up edge to marmalade making. You can also do fun things when you bottle the marmalade into your jars. You can add things like just a little hint of whiskey or rum, just to kind of give it a even more grown-up flavour. But there you go. Those of you who wanted to see the marmalade recipe, I've done it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you give it a try. And once again, thanks for watching Sew, Grow and Cook, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.